here's my top 10 favorite movies of January 2025. Wow, I watch a lot of movies. In 10th place is Alarum. It's about two married retired spies who get pulled back into the action. You're gonna see a lot of that this year. For Alarum, the way they're approaching it is that the spies have this flash drive that a bunch of different intelligence agencies want, and so all these intelligence agencies lay siege to their vacation home. And it stars Scott Eastwood, Willa Fitzgerald, and Sylvester Stallone. Alarum has a couple of nice one-liners, and the villain is good at being a very intimidating Bond villain, but honestly, I just couldn't connect with it. And I'm okay with that. Maybe you would connect with it instead. In 9th place is Den of Thieves 2, Pantera. It's about a washed-up sheriff, played by Gerard Butler, who goes to Europe to follow his old informant, played by O'Shea Jackson Jr., and then joins that informant's heist crew for the biggest heist of their life. Think something like the original Fast and Furious or Point Break. I enjoyed the heist segments because I will enjoy basically any heist segment from basically any movie, hence my username. However, with the rest of the movie, I felt like I was high, not in the sense of some trippy psychedelic visuals, in the sense that I couldn't connect anything to anything. Whenever any character would come on screen, I would think, who is this? Do I know this person? What were they doing before? And whenever any location would come back, I would think, I feel like I've seen this place. I have no idea why. I'm not saying the movie was bad. I'm just saying I had a bad experience with it, and I'm okay with that. I just hope you have a good experience with it. In 8th place is The Last Showgirl. It's about an aging Vegas dancer, played by Pamela Anderson, who is processing the grief of realizing that the show that she's dedicated the last 30 years of her life to is shutting down. And she's trying to figure out if her entire life had no meaning. Film is an empathy machine, and The Last Showgirl is a wonderful example of that, because you get to really feel what it's like to be in her shoes, and you get to really feel that grief with her, and try to figure out if your own life has meaning, or at least the things that you've been doing. And the movie chooses not to answer that question. Not because it doesn't want to give you hope, but because the movie knows that it's rated R. It knows that its audience is going to be mature, responsible adults who are able to process emotions and who are able to feel things for themselves and come to conclusions for themselves. And so rather than saying, yes, your life has meaning, the movie asks the question and then leaves you with the opportunity to find the answer for yourself. In the process, motivating a more philosophical experience and motivating you to be a better, or at least different, person. It also stars Brenda Song, Kieran Shipka, Dave Bautista, and Jamie Lee Curtis. In 7th place is Wolfman. It's about Blake Lovell, a dad who went no contact with his abusive father before his daughter was born. And now he's trying to be a healthy parent and break generational curses, but he knows how very imperfect he is at it, and he knows he's still figuring out how to be a healthy parent. But when his father passes away and Blake needs to pick up his dad's things, he brings his wife and daughter back into his father's world and back to his childhood home, and back to the curses of his home, as Blake gets bit by the Wolfman and starts to turn into a Wolfman, who may or may not be a threat to his family. How could they truly know if Blake is safe? It's a slow burn horror movie, and I personally don't really connect with slow burn horror movies, and I'm okay with that. But it did a great job with its symbolism. I love the way that it plays with sound and color. This movie is a shoo-in for best sound. Also, Christopher Abbott is giving a wonderful performance as something that is not fully wolf and not fully man, and at the same time both wolf and man. It's a once-in-a-lifetime performance. It's the sort of thing that actors grow up dreaming of getting to play. And the makeup department is doing a great job. I mean, okay, so a lot of werewolf movies will have the Wolfman just turn into a werewolf in one scene. It'll be a brief transition. No, this movie spends 45 minutes on him gradually turning into a werewolf, starting as a full human with a little bit of blood and pus on his face, and going into fully a werewolf. But because of that, we get to see each stage of his transition, which makes the effects makeup so cool. And it unexpectedly may be a better person. Wolfman stars Christopher Abbott, Julia Garner, Matilda Firth, and Sam Yeager. In 6th place, we have Back in Action, about 2 married retired spies who get pulled back into the action when their cover is blown. It is full of camp and pulp. If you wish modern James Bond movies acted more like 60s James Bond movies, you want Back in Action. If you miss Spy Kids movies, well, actually we got a Spy Kids movie in 2023, but you want Back in Action. Also, there's a character whose whole thing is normal, average, everyday dude who is training to become a Hollywood James Bond super spy. Like, everyone else in the movie is using improvised weapons and the sort of tech that you and I currently have on us, and this dude is using gadgets. And it's amazing, and every single thing that Jamie Demetriou does is just an absolute uproarious delight. I think that's a word, and he is the best part of the movie. And why is this movie not about him? Who do I contact to get a spin-off about him? Because, wow, that would be a spin-off about the comic relief. That would be just an amazing movie. Back in Action stars Jamie Foxx, Cameron Diaz, Glenn Close, and Andrew Scott. In 5th place is Extremely Unique Dynamic. It's an ultra-low indie movie. It's very clearly the creator's first feature, and I love that sort of movie. It's about 2 friends who, on their last weekend together, decide to make a movie. About 2 friends making a movie, about 2 friends making a movie. It is the closest we will ever get to Abed, all caps. And it fulfills on that premise perfectly. And if you're looking for a little bit more representation in your films, I can tell you this is gonna help there, because Extremely Unique Dynamic is a movie about the importance of representation in a movie with a lot of different types of representation. There's a gay storyline, both the main characters are Asian, and that sort of comes out in the plot, and it's a stoner comedy. It knows what it's doing. It knows how meta it is, and it knows that's the joke. If you don't like meta-ness, you are not going to like Extremely Unique Dynamic. But if you like Community, go watch this movie. I'm begging you. It stars nobody you've heard of. Like I said, this is a first feature, and it does such a good job at being a first feature. And so it stars the directors, who are also the writers. In 4th place is Flight Risk. It's a tight little locked room thriller that starts with a relatable premise. In a hijacking, could you actually land a plane? And then it just adds layers and layers on top of that premise, so that there's a 70s conspiracy thriller and a mafia movie happening around them. None of the characters trust each other, which creates these really good character dynamics, and one of the characters is in handcuffs for most of the movie. I really like this sort of low-budget, very tight thriller where you can tell they didn't have much money, but they put all of that money into making the premise as interesting as possible and fulfilling on that premise as well as physically possible. And so because of that, all of the leads are giving great performances. Michelle Dockery, in particular, is giving a great performance as the lead because she's giving all of this very ranged emotion while performing against nothing. She has no one to bounce off of because most of her dialogue is speaking to people outside the plane over the phone. And she has to go from paranoia to gratitude to almost full-on tears while just talking to people over the phone. And that is so freaking good. It also stars Mark Wahlberg and Topher Grace. In 3rd place is Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul. It's a really good claymation film. I didn't know some of these things were possible with claymation. It does a great job addressing its themes about AI and about cops. It stars Ben Whitehead, who you might know for playing Wallace in everything else. No, seriously, look at his IMDb. It is almost entirely playing Wallace. And it stars Reese Shearsmith as the AI. It also features Diane Morgan, who you might recognize for playing Philomena Conk. In 2nd place is Presence. It's about a dysfunctional family who move into a haunted house, filmed entirely from the ghost's POV. It's directed by Steven Soderbergh, who you might recognize from Ocean's 11 and Logan Lucky, and written by the legendary screenwriter David Koepp, who you might recognize, well, you will recognize from Mission Impossible 1, Spider-Man 1, and Jurassic Park 1. I expected Presence to be a horror movie, but it's more of a thought-provoking experimental art film. And it really provoked thought. Oh my gosh, it changed so much of the way that I think about movies because we are the camera. The presence of the camera means that we are there. And we, the camera, the ghost, are the protagonist of the film. And also, it does a great job at addressing its themes about grief and about loss and about death. And there's been so many movies about grief and death that I think Hollywood might finally be processing its feelings about COVID. It stars Lucy Liu, Chris Sullivan, Kalina Lang, and Eddie Medei. And in first place is Better Man. It's a music biopic about the British pop star Robbie Williams, who is portrayed in this film as a CGI chimp. And because of that, the movie does a great job at reminding you in every single scene, this is not about what literally happened in Robbie Williams' life. This is about how he feels about what happened. It's very experimental, it's very symbolic, it's very weird, but it's also an absolute visual feast. Oh my gosh, I am well fed after Better Man. I am so happy from that film. I've realized over the month of January that there's really one very simple thing that makes me like a movie. Play with the medium of film. The Last Showgirl is really playing with the concept of a handheld camera. The entire movie, the camera feels like it's drunk, wobbling back and forth. Or Flight Risk is playing with the concept of budget. It's an incredibly low-budget movie, and so it's an incredibly tight room, and it's an incredibly tight script because of that low budget. Same thing with Extremely Unique Dynamic, which is a movie about movies. It's really playing with the medium of film the entire time. Wallace and Gromit is playing with what claymation is capable of. Better Man is, oh my gosh, one of the most play with the medium of film movies I've ever seen. I mean, there's a scene where they go through an entire year in Robbie's life in 7 different buildings in a musical number that lasts one shot the entire time, and there's nowhere to cut the camera. That's such a good way to play with what film can do. Presence was an amazing way to play with what film is and what film can do, and ask questions about movies, and in the process ask questions about life and about death. Because in Presence, we are the medium of film. And in Wolfman, we're playing with sound and with color in so many creative and interesting ways. And maybe this is part of why I didn't connect with Den of Thieves 2, Pantera, or Alarum quite in the same way. And that's okay. That's just what I like about movies. You're gonna find something different that you love. And I hope you find some wonderful movies. Follow me on YouTube, Blue Sky, and Patreon at Movies and Heists for more movie love. All the money from my Patreon goes toward making my heist movie, which plays with the medium of film in so many wonderful ways. I love making this thing. Thank you so much to these patrons for helping to fund my movie titled Red and Black.